Factory farming. How do the factory farming methods impact Americans? Over 99% of the animals in the US are raised in factory farms, yet we only see commercials like these. No commercials show the truth. Even farmers lie about their employers to make them look better.
It's a good feeling to have a flock of birds that are beautiful, healthy. You know you've done a good job. The best product that you could produce has
But
just...
this is how the farmers really feel.
I'm Craig Watts. I'm a contract poultry producer with Purdue Farm. This stuff is not as advertised. There's a lot of flaws in the system. The consumers being hoodwinked, the farmers being jerked around.
Let's start with the farmers. Many people think that the farmers decide to treat the animals in these cruel and inhumane ways. The truth is, the farmers sign misleading contracts that force them to treat the animals in these cruel ways. Here is an excerpt from Purdue's website, and this is their standard for poultry welfare. These clips are from Craig Watts' chicken operation, the man who spoke out in the beginning of the video. He broke his contract in order to expose the public to what really goes on. Just look at this. This is part of Purdue's contract for farmers, and their transparency is non-existent as they restrict the farmers from recording or distributing any material in regards to their chickens. So why don't the farmers just quit? Nearly 10 billion chickens, 120 million pigs, and 40 million cows died for American consumption in 2014. The animal produce industry is massive. You would think these farmers make somewhat decent money. The truth is, their wages sometimes don't even meet the poverty line. The poverty line, the estimated minimum level of income needed to secure the necessities of life. The worst part is, the farmers spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions, on developing their farm and signed the contract thinking they will make their money back and have a steady source of income.
Because they will not pay you enough to pay your bills and raise their chicken.
The contract farmers' salaries are based off of rankings with other farmers. Whoever uses the least amount of feed and raises the best chickens can make more money. But if a farmer's chickens are worse than the others, they can lose nearly half of the money they were set to earn, dropping them well below the poverty line. Many farmers take loans to start the operation, and quitting their only source of income could cost them dearly. The problem with the politics. The Environmental Protection Agency is responsible for the regulation of these farming operations. The problem is that the regulations are hardly enforced and poor practices are rarely corrected. This picture shows the waste pool from just one farming operation. This waste and its disposal methods, being sprayed in the air from mist hoses, causes great harm to the environment and those in surrounding areas. The politics actually date back to the time of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who passed the Agricultural Adjustment Act, which concentrated agricultural lands in the hands of few, promoting the big business. The biggest bill is the Farm Bill, which funds big farming businesses as opposed to small-scale farms, which tend to be much more environmentally friendly. The government provides subsidies, money to assist an industry in keeping the prices low, to these large-scale farms and allows them to save billions. A 2007 Tufts study showed that factory farms saved $34.8 billion between 1997 and 2005. The subsidies provided by the government make small-scale farms irrelevant. The problem with the corporations. Meat corporations are no different from most other corporations. They pour an absurd amount of money into lobbying. In 2014 alone, the meat industry spent $6.9 million on lobbying and another $10.8 million directly toward political campaigns. But this is only the recorded amount. There is certainly dark money involved, money given with undisclosed amounts. Their money goes to bills addressing environmental standards antibiotics usage, and animal treatment. As if receiving subsidies from the government wasn't enough, they used the millions the small farms don't have to shift the political landscape into their favor. Treatment of animals. The treatment of the animals is talked about much more than the treatment of the farmers. The images released are graphic and practices can be extremely disturbing. Not one type of animal has it the worst. Chickens are squeezed in warehouses by the thousands, grown to full size at alarming speeds, which can lead to broken legs, and are forced to live on top of their own feces until slaughter. But that leaves out the chickens used for eggs. Up to a dozen chickens can be forced into cages like these and produce eggs until they are deemed to be out of their prime fertility stage. Pigs live brutal lives as well on these factory farms. They too are grown at alarming rates, and sows are forced to birth many piglets from containers like these. This confinement does not allow them to move and causes cuts and open wounds all over their bodies. Cows are forcibly impregnated so they can continuously produce milk. They don't see grass until slaughter and are killed after 4 years of milk production. Previously, most cows could be used for up to 40 years. These animals are not treated in a humane way, and they sacrifice everything for us Americans. The benefits of this system. Yes, it seems brutal to everyone involved in the actual farming process besides the big corporations, but all in all, it provides a cheap and plentiful food supply for us Americans. Without the subsidies and cheap labor methods, getting food on the table would cost a lot more. And with the amount of people living at the poverty line in America, that being 43.1 million people, this could be a recipe for disaster. Part of me wants to believe that these subsidies are used to benefit Americans with cheap food, while the other part of me thinks it's for political gain. Whatever the case, cheap and plentiful food is a great thing for our ever-growing country. Every politician always talks about jobs, 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 and while the jobs have their downsides, contract farming and helping on the contract farms is a way to get Americans working. Obligation. Using the ethical system of obligation to analyze factory farming is a recipe for an ethical disaster. The methods utilized by these farms are utterly disgusting. According to Immanuel Kant, the wrongness of actions does not depend on their outcome, but on whether they fulfill our duty. The outcome of factory farming is an abundant food supply and lower prices, which will be fine under an ethical system like utilitarianism. According to Kant, however, the methods of factory farming should be considered unethical, as it is not a human's duty to abuse animals in such a way. There is a duty of respect in the system of obligation, something that is expected to be done by moral or legal obligation. These animals on the farms are anything but respected as they are mutilated, abused, carelessly slaughtered, genetically mutated to the point where they are in constant pain. Peter Dinklage, as seen in Game of Thrones, partnered with PETA and featured in an ad called Face Your Food.
As you've seen here, by buying meat, eggs, and dairy products, you're paying for cruelty. Please.
Here, he is suggesting that everyone should go to a vegetarian lifestyle to solve the problem of animal abuse. This is a radical and unrealistic approach to solving the problem. Yes, of course it would work, but not enough people can and will change their diet to make a significant difference on the largest industry in America. That's what I think we need. For starters, fair pay for all contract farmers. The ranking system is broken and leaves many scrambling to pay their bills. The EPA needs to do a better job of enforcing standards of waste management, but most importantly, help farms figure out how to change the way that they have been doing things for so long. Farms need to follow in Smithfield's footsteps and set up a plan to wean themselves off of these harmful processes with the animals or cut down the utilization of them. Factory farming is a brutal sight, but it provides for so many people at such a manageable price.